Hello, cooking enthusiasts. This week's video is going to be another gelato recipe. It was going to be a chocolate recipe I've been talking about for quite a while on Instagram. However, I need to test that recipe a bit more. So instead, I thought I'd give you this pumpkin seed gelato, which I'm also really happy with for several reasons. One of which is that it doesn't use any modernist stabilizers. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love modern hydrocolloid stabilizers, and I will continue to use them in gelato and many other recipes. But they aren't as accessible, at least some of them aren't. So, for certain recipes, I'm going to shy away from them a little bit, whereas in others, where I want a pitch perfect texture and flavor, I'm going to recommend them. So because this recipe is a nut slash seed flavor, the only stabilizer I used was flax seeds. Now I chose pumpkin seeds because in both color and vaguely in flavor, they are a approximation of pistachios. I really love pistachios, and it's a very classic gelato flavor, but of course, pistachios are very expensive, so I was curious how well I could substitute the flavor with pumpkin seeds. To maximize the flavor, I'm using a combination of roasted and unroasted pumpkin seeds, and I'm also using them in two different forms. The first step is to make pumpkin seed milk, but instead of using water, you're using regular milk. I did about 200 grams of pumpkin seeds combined with 650 grams of milk. Now, if you replaced the milk with water or another mild tasting milk alternative, you could probably make this a pretty effective vegan recipe. You could probably also soak the pumpkin seeds into the liquid of your choice beforehand, but I decided to just sort of brute force it with a very powerful blender. After blending thoroughly, you want to put it through a very fine filter and measure out how much you got. I got just under 500 grams of the pumpkin seed double milk, so I topped it up to 600 total with a little bit of fresh milk. Once you have that liquid, it's just a matter of blending in the rest of the ingredients. 150 grams of toasted pumpkin seeds, 170 grams of regular or toasted sugar, and you might add some more, at least 5 grams of salt, but hold back because I have some alternate flavorings to discuss later, and the flax or chia seeds. I ended up using 25 grams of flax seeds, but I think that was more than necessary, so I recommend 10 to 15 grams. Blend it together as thoroughly as possible and give it a little taste test, mainly for smoothness, because we will adjust the seasoning later. Now the reason we're using the pumpkin seeds in these two different forms is to really maximize the flavor, because I'm trying to maximize the portion of the fat in the ice cream that is coming from the pumpkin seed oils. If we did that by entirely relying on the solid pumpkin seeds, there would be too much solids in the final product. But if we relied entirely on making a sort of nut milk, then we would be missing on some of the flavor that the solids can provide. And I let the gelato mixture rest overnight in the fridge, mainly to allow the flax seeds to hydrate. After resting, it should be nicely thickened, and you might want to give it one extra blend for good measure. And now it's time for seasoning. As always, I recommend adjusting with a little bit of salt and or sugar as you see necessary. It should taste quite sweet before freezing, but this is also when you can tweak the flavor to be a little more like pistachio. I used black walnut cocktail bitters and a few drops of Japanese soy sauce. As with all of my gelato recipes, it then goes into the freezer until it reaches around 0 Celsius, and then it gets churned in an ice cream machine. And the final results were really good. The color is definitely different from most pistachio gelatos that you see, but I kind of like the intensity, and the flavor compared to pistachio, I would say, is actually pretty close, but otherwise is delicious on its own. So if you enjoy pistachio gelato, I really recommend giving this recipe a try. If you have any questions about this recipe or gelato in general, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, thank you for watching.